Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another weekly fighting roundup. And if you are new around here though, and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So, starting off, of course, with the boxing news, and the starting bit of news is that Canelo is in talks to fight Munguia May 4th. It's been a busy week, rumours-wise, for who Canelo may be fighting. Like last week was with rumours, and it seems like we've now got a date in May 4th. Most likely going to be Munguia. It seems like he's moved away from PBC and is wanting to kind of go down the Munguia and then Berlanga type route. It's an interesting route. I'm not really an overly massive fan of it. I don't think the Munguia fight is especially a bad fight. Oh, like everybody's been saying, the Benavidez fight is by far the best fight. It's by far the fight that should be happening. It's a shame that it's not happening. The Munguia fight isn't a bad fight. I don't think the Crawford fight is a necessary fight, really. But I really don't think the Berlanga fight is a really good fight either. And if that's in September time, then I'm going to have to see Berlanga go and have a really good showing against a top level guy before I'm convinced that he should go and deservingly fight Canelo. But it seems like it's the route he wants to be taking. Crawford, though, he's set to now be a free agent, and so there's possibilities of where he may be going. Seems like he's no longer tied down to anything with the Spence Jr. rematch. Avia will fight Bostwick March 23rd. Matchroom have won the purse bids for Denny versus Cash. Finally, Matchroom winning a boxer fighter purse bids, but a great fight in that. Neri is no longer banned from fighting in Japan. KSI is set to be back in training. Garcia has called out O'Malley. Strange odd week for Garcia as well. Of course, them doing the press stuff for him versus Haney, but it's been. I'm not going to go into it too much because it has been seemingly quite messy. But nobody really knows what's going on with him at the moment, and so when he calls out O'Malley, you don't really got to think too much into it. Taylor versus Silva is off, that being the Misfits fight. Crawford could move up to super welterweight and use his WBO super champion status to become mandatory challenger for Zhu. It's very interesting how Zhu's kind of, he's been chasing big fights for so long now, and seemingly he's getting a big fight there, kind of falling for him. Of course, he's got to go beat Thurman, but that's a huge fight, and for that to just fall on his lap after, like I say, he's been waiting for so long for such big fights, it's nice to see, in my opinion. Barrow has signed a new contract with Wasserman. Khan has called out Pacquiao again. Stevenson is willing to fight Inoue. De La Hoya has called out White. De La Hoya versus Dana White would be an interesting fight. I doubt we'll see it happen. Cruz is in talks to fight Fierro. That's a great step up and a very tough fight for Cruz. Beauchamp will fight Ub till March 9th. McCormack has joined Queensbury. Anderson versus Murray. Ajagba versus Villanello. Conceição, LeBron, Mason, Rincon, and Villa will fight April 13th. Perry will fight Alves April 27th. I should have announced that with the MMA news. That's bare knuckle fighting news, so I apologise for putting that in this boxing bit. Barboza Jr. is set to fight April 20th. Simpson has called out Whitaker. They're both on the same card. Will we see them fight? Probably not, but he's called him out nonetheless. Matthias is set to fight Rodriguez. Hall will fight April 27th. Plantich will fight Cullen April 6th. Eubank Jr. is in talks to fight Brook or Janabek or Kelly next. So, a couple options there, and random little options in my opinion, the Brook and the Kelly one, but of course Janabek's always going to be the option that he probably will want the most. Eubank Jr. Goyat has joined Most Valuable Promotions. Sauerland wants Eubank versus Ritson. Zarbek has signed a new contract with Wasserman. Kulke will fight Murtazaliev April 6th. WBA have confirmed Berlanga is Morrell Jr.'s mandatory challenger. That's the fight which would make sense in my opinion. I think it would be a big step up for both, but a necessary step up for both. And I would believe, like I say, if Berlanga goes and steamrolls Morrell Jr., then all give him credit. You've got to, say fair enough. You probably do deserve that other Canelo fight, but I think Morrell Jr. would be a very tough test, and it'd be a great fight, that one. De La Hoya wants Mason versus Schofield. I think that'd be a great fight. Probably won't end up seeing it next, but it'd be a nice fight to be, built. EBU have ordered Artenstall versus Hansen. Nicholson is set to fight Mahfoud April 6th. Davis is set to fight Martin June 15th. White has been cleared to box again. interesting thing. It seems like apparently there was something that he consumed similar to that of the whole Conor Benn situation that he wasn't supposed to, but it's gotten cleared a lot quicker than that of the Conor Benn situation, and so and that's seemingly the same thing. So still question marks about the whole Conor Benn thing, but White's now seemingly back boxing. Madrimov versus Kurbanov could be off. There's possible things I believe wrong with Madrimov's medical test, and he's meant to be fighting on the AJ card this week. So, that could be off. Welland won by TKO in round 2 versus Trobec. Harris won by points versus Buscetta. Whale won by TKO in round 2 versus Mosquera. Power won by points versus Turco. Benjamin won by points versus Sanchez. Kelly won by points versus Lutic. Talwood won by stoppage in round 5 versus Madsen. Zarbek won by points versus Julio. Daskalu won by a TKO in round 1 versus Jackson Brown to become Southern Area Super Middleweight Champion. Baruo won via majority decision versus Egerton to become EBU European Super Welterweight Champion, and that card in general, I've been up in Telford for Fight Week for 2 of the days for Fight Week, and it's been nice to speak to some of the fighters on it. Had the pleasure of speaking to Welland, who of course went and got a nice stoppage victory, and that's what you want to be seeing from prospects. Harris had the pleasure of speaking to as he returned back for a points victory with now Peter Fury, who I also had the real privilege of speaking to, as they're now working together, and it was a good, comfortable performance from Harris, and he used his fundamentals nicely and boxed how he should and didn't gas himself out, which was nice to see. Power also had the pleasure of speaking to. He had a comfortable points win. Talwood had the pleasure of speaking to as well. He had a nice stoppage win versus Madsen, and he's got a big backing, and so he's got a lot to live up to, and so far he's doing so. It was unfortunate for Jackson Brown. I didn't speak to him this week, but I had the pleasure of speaking to him a little while ago on this channel, and to see him get this opportunity was nice to see. But it was unfortunate with what happened and the stoppage, and fair play to the Scalu. But it'd be nice to see Jackson Brown hopefully get back to them big times again. And the main event, spoke to Baruo. Hopefully we'll be putting out some shorts from that interview sometime soon. But nice to see him getting a very impressive victory against Eggington. You always know when Eggington's in a fight, it's going to be an entertaining one, and it definitely was that. And Baruo definitely did deserve that of the win. He did just outthrow him in the end and landed much cleaner shots. Eggington always gives him his all in fights. I don't realistically think this should be the end for Eggington. I don't think he should retire or anything like that, but maybe take a little bit of time off, because these fights are definitely going to take a lot out of you, and I do think there is definitely still a platform there for Eggington, a route that he can still be in, and I don't believe, like I say, that's the end for him yet. Moving on, Ali Walsh won via unanimous decision versus Stanford. Moore won via unanimous decision versus Olguin. Isley won via TKO round 7 versus Hernandez. Diaz won via unanimous decision versus Rodriguez. Polanco won via unanimous decision versus Zayna. Norman Jr. won via Drew versus Bocachica. Lopez won via TKO round 8 versus Abe to become IBF World Featherweight Champion. Ford won via TKO round 12 versus Kolmatov to become WBA World Featherweight Champion. And that card in general was that of an entertaining card. Nice to see Ali Walsh, back to winning ways. And of course, with the name that he has and everything like that, he's going to get it onto every big card, no matter if he's winning or losing. Isley, a nice stoppage from him. He's got some very good fundamentals and a very nice right hand, and he's definitely got the workings to be that of a high-level fighter. And it's nice to see him being able to get stoppage. Polanco, I feel like he probably could have gotten a stoppage, and he just missed out, but he was still boxing nicely. And them type of fighters, there's definitely talent there with Top Rank, of course, everybody knows that. Lopez, it was a fun fight versus Abe. It's just crazy, with every fight it seems like he's getting more confident, I suppose, but also just more like he just wants to box however he wants to box. And the fundamentals you're taught in boxing of keep your hands high, don't lunge in, don't overcommit, don't do anything like that. He pretty much does all of that, and he still manages to win because he's just awkward, gets into range, he's explosive, gets into range in unique ways, and he's entertaining. You got to give that to him. And impressive performance versus Abe. Like I said, I got my prediction right. I didn't think Abe would be able to handle him, and he couldn't. And I think he's got a strong chin, Lopez, but I believe there'll be a point where he probably will face a more powerful puncher, and he might get stopped. But I don't think he's realistically faced that quite yet, or at least not to maybe the extent that you know, he's going to test his chin too much. But you know, with that confidence, possibly there might be a point where that might come to a halt, I suppose. And the Ford versus Komatov fight was a great fight. Got my prediction wrong for it. I said that Komatov would be able to stop Ford, but all credit to Ford. You know, Komatov was winning. He was boxing quite well. He definitely was, you know, having the best of him when he was finding the range in IC and was letting his hands go and was landing possibly the cleaner shots. But Ford, you know, he could have just gone around the edge of the ring the whole time and really not tried and tried to put up a fight. But he wanted to make it entertaining. He did that. He was outpacing Komatov with his punches, and Komatov was struggling with the speed at times and the angles which Ford was finding, the uppercuts he was throwing, and the fact that when he did turn it up, it managed to get the job done, and it was very impressive. Credit to him. It showed a lot of, you know, heart and will to be able to do that, and you know, possibly he could have gone all the way to the end, Komatov, but he did look out of it, and he wasn't really defending himself. So you don't really blame the ref for calling the stoppage. And Ford, fair play to him. He's now, you know, champion. I would love to see the rematch versus Komatov. I think Komatov's definitely still got a place in the featherweight division, but I don't think we probably will see a rematch. So possibly, you know, the likes of a Nick Ball if he beats a Ray Vargas, or you know, there's or like a mandatory challenge. You know, there's lots of options I think possibly around, but it's just credit to him to be able to get the win and do it in such dramatic style. Moving on, Walton drew versus Torres. Paul won via TK round 1 versus Borland. Diaz Velez won via TK round 2 versus Scott. Gonzalez won via unanimous decision versus Santiago to remain WBO World Light Flyweight Champion. Serrano versus Mike was cancelled. And to speak about that card, the Paul fight, I got my prediction right. I said he would stop him. It was an easy fight, completely not really that necessary in my opinion, and the fight in general, and it didn't really show anything that we didn't already know from Paul, and it wasn't really impressive. And you know, it's whatever. I don't really think you're going to take too much from that. I suppose it's nice to see Paul be active, but other than that, he's managed to get another stoppage, which you know he shows that he is a creditable boxer now, and he can get out these opponents, but you know, it's still not really that impressive from what he's saying that he can be and what he's saying he can do. But you know, people are giving him more credit now. People are expecting him to go and win against fighters like this, and he did that comfortably. The Gonzalez fight versus Santiago was, you know, I got my prediction right. I said it was interesting matchmaking. It was. Gonzalez was the clear better fighter. Even at the older age that he is, he's still got it in him, and he's still, you know, willing to stand toe to toe. And Santiago was doing that, but he just couldn't quite keep up with Gonzalez, and that's how he managed to get the decision win. And it was sad to see the Serrano fight get cancelled. With Serrano, it was strange circumstances with her getting the eye injury from her running from hair chemicals going in their eye or something like that. It was sad to see. Credit to Most Valuable Promotions for seemingly giving everybody a refund, but I'm sure we're going to see Serrano fight again soon, and hopefully in Puerto Rico, because she does kind of deserve that homecoming fight. Moving on now to MMA. Pacquiao won via disqualification in round 1 versus Brooks to become one championship strawweight MMA world champion. Tang won via TK round 3 versus Lei to remain one championship featherweight MMA world champion. Malikin won via stoppage in round 3 versus Derrida to become one championship middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight MMA world champion. Just thought I'd mention that card. You know, it was very impressive that Malikin has managed to go and become that freeweight world champion and have all the belts. I don't really fully understand if he is currently all three of them. I think he might be all three of them champions, all three of that weight champions. But either way, you know, it's impressive, and he is a quality fighter. But you know, there's still a gap between the UFC and one championship because Derrida shouldn't really have been fighting for that title, in my opinion. But either way, impressive and entertaining nonetheless. Freya versus Kennedy and Gallagher versus Hygo will fight March 22nd. Santos has joined PFL. Radzahobov won via KO in round 3 versus Al Selwadi. Klein won via KO in round 1 versus Cunningham. Leroy Duncan won via KO in round 2 versus Ribeiro. Zahabi won via decision versus Basharat. Oliveira won via KO in round 3 versus Sopaj. Anders won via decision versus Pickett. Urseg won via KO in round 2 versus Chanel. Nurmagomedov won via decision versus Almakhan. Makayev won via decision versus Perez. Petrino won via decision versus Pedro. Rosenstrike won via TK in round 4 versus Gaziev. And Pedro has retired as well. And to speak about that UFC card for this week, of course, didn't do a prediction for it. it wasn't really the biggest of cards really, but there was some entertaining fights on then nonetheless. Leroy Duncan, nice to see a British fighter go in and making a name for himself and doing it in impressive fashion. He does look huge for the middleweight division, so I probably would like to think he's going to move up, but he definitely could be that of a menace in the middleweight division, and it was an impressive demolishing performance, and that's what you want to be seeing. Magomedov, another very good decision win. He did get dropped, and he had to actually deal with a little bit of difficulties, but he managed to do it relatively comfortably and still won clearly. And I think there in the bantamweight division, I would like to see him actually get a higher ranked bantamweight fighter now, possibly a Jose Font, even that of a Henry Cejudo could make for an entertaining fight, with the Magomedov being that of the up and comer and facing somebody like Cejudo, who is arguably on his way down, but still maybe it has something left. But he is very good, Magomedov. Makayev, decision versus Perez. There's a few things that Makayev's done wrong, and it's been shown in that fight. I think he's been very good and has a lot of momentum coming up with him, and I've been singing his praises. I think he is a quality fighter, but there was a few things which you can see defensive wise and little mistakes he was making on the ground, especially, that definitely could have been capitalised against, possibly higher level opposition. But, now he's calling for that of the champion Pantoja. I don't necessarily think he should get that shot right yet. Possibly one more fight. I would like to see maybe a Kai Kara France, or even a Brandon Moreno to an extent could be an entertaining one, or a Cape. Or, I think there's a few options, and I'd like to see him, like I say, have one more before he goes up to the top, because there's no real rush. 23 years old, young guy, no rush. Rosenstrike, interesting stoppage versus Gaziev. Not really the most entertaining of heavyweight fights. Was just that kind of typical stand slow boxing to an extent. Gaziev got into the ground a couple of times. That looked alright. Rosenstrike got his striking together alright. Wasn't overly sloppy, but he managed to get a stoppage in the end. Interesting stoppage. Gaziev just looked like he didn't really want to carry on, and that's how the fight ended. But Rosenstrike, him versus Derek Lewis, I'm surprised that fight hasn't happened yet. It's a very entertaining fight that I really do want to see, to be completely honest. Moving on, Dos Santos won via TKO in round 2 versus Belcher to become Gamebred Bare Knuckle MMA World Heavyweight Champion. And I thought I'd mention that Dos Santos going and getting the stoppage. Good to see him getting a win, and it's on the Gamebred Masvidal card, him becoming the Bare Knuckle Champion. Fair play to him. He's got an extensive history in the UFC, Dos Santos, and it's nice to see him even still being able to go out and win titles, even if they aren't necessarily the biggest ones. But lots of fighters going to bare knuckle. Don't really blame them, to be completely honest. But a lot of fighters seem to being able to do well in the process. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like video if you did indeed like the video. Subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.